somehow you really have to connect with the value of the gospel of Jesus Christ. You have to connect. You have to hear this warning. And he turns in chapter 2 to people who should know better. And he breaks them down into two categories. In chapter 2, verse 12, the two groups he talks about. Repeat with me, please. Said those with the law, and those without the law. Now, those with the law are those who have a specific knowledge of God. Those without the law are those who have a general revelation of God. In simple language, he says they're people who know the Word. They have a specific understanding of God's guidelines. And then there are those who don't. People often say, well, what do you do when a person has never heard the gospel? What happens to them? They're judged by what they know. Listen to this exchange in chapter 2, verse 12. For as many as have sinned without the law will also perish without the law. And as many as have sinned in the law will be judged by the what? Law. In other words, people are judged based on what they have. He says, for not the hearers of the law, verse 13, are just in the sight of God, but the what? Doers of the law will be justified. For when the Gentiles who do not have the law by nature do the things in the law, these, although not having the law, are a law to themselves, who show the work of the law written where? In their hearts and their conscience. In simple terms, he's simply saying there are people who've never heard the gospel, they've never heard the word preached, but they know things are wrong. Their conscience says, I shouldn't do this. Their conscience always follows them and says, you know, you need to really consider your life choices here. And so the real question is, where are you? And what is your conscience saying to you? I was 17 years old, and I came to a conscience moment. Even though I'd been Christian for three and a half years or so, I felt like I came to this crucial moment where not only was the Word talking to me, but my conscience was talking to me. Because there was a temptation trying to pull me away from God. And everybody comes to this moment in your life where you make a decision. Am I going to rebel and disconnect, or am I going to connect? And I remember on a street in Los Angeles, I remember exactly the street, and I remember where I was when I started running. I started to just run. I was walking down the street, and I was having these thoughts. Rebel and disconnect, or stay with God. And I started to run until I became winded. And what I did was I got to a part, and I just put my hands on my legs, and I started to breathe hard. And I said, help me, God. Help me, God. Help me, God. And it was in that spot that I made a decision. Will there be a Pastor Rick? Will there be a TV program? Will there be a guy that stands before thousands of people a month, a week, and share the gospel? It was in that spot that I made a decision. Throw the word out for a minute. Your conscience is talking to you. Forget church. Forget me. You know in your soul that the direction you're going in is not the path you need to be on. What's really sad for some of you is you're dragging your kids right along with you. Ricky's future, my son, would never have lived. Because if I'd made that wrong turn, she wouldn't have married me. Christina would have never lived. Your life was decided on a street in California. The young boy, bent over, out of breath. Make a decision, Temple. Repel. Push away authority. Push away advice. Or stand up and say, not my will, but thine be done. It didn't matter how sincere I was. It was that once I left that spot, I had to really give him my heart. I had to trust his way of life. I had to surrender everything and say, now, God, there is nothing that's more important to me than you. I will no longer rebel. I will no longer disconnect. I'm going to leave you students with a thought. I remember so vividly in high school. I remember so vividly in college having to make decisions. And if you want certain things to happen in your life, you got to make decisions. You got to stop flirting on the other side. You've got to deal with the real issues of your life. God can bless you, but he cannot bless you if you rebel. We can build a bigger church. We can have great activities. We can be sharp and smooth and cool and profitable. But if we are not right with God, it's all a show. It's all a show.